Hey, it's Justin Popovich here from toolsformotivation.com. There's my little picture on the screen. You can also see a picture of my business partner, Ted Payne. And we've got a training session, little video here I wanted to share with you, talking about another way, or one of the many ways you can look at private label rights content, PLR content. And today we want to look at how to extract your own expertise. Now, here is something that a lot of people struggle with. Most of us, and I'm assuming you're in this bucket or working towards being in this bucket of being an expert in your field, and you have a lot of knowledge. You know, over the years you've developed certain skills and talents, and those skills and talents are worth money. Whether you're selling them as prepackaged products on a website that people can download and learn from you. Maybe you're selling it in the form of coaching or consulting, where you're out in the field and actually helping implement information or ideas that you're good at. Whatever it may be for you. As an expert, one of the biggest challenges is being able to extract all of this experience that you've gained over the years, so that other people can learn from you and begin helping them gain the same level of expertise that you have, or at least kind of translating that knowledge to them so they can get the same benefits you've been getting from your expertise. And so what a lot of us face, people who do this kind of work, is what I'm calling today the expert's dilemma, where you have an unconscious competence with something, right? If you've been doing something for so long, you're unconsciously competent at it. You don't even necessarily know how you're good at it because you've just been doing it for so long. One quick example I'm thinking of off the top of my head here is if I were to show you how to create a video like I'm doing right now, I'd really have to sit down and think about all the steps that I'm doing, because I've just done hundreds of these videos that it's a matter of, I create my slides, I start my video recording, off I go. But there's probably really, a few dozen steps that go into creating a video like this that I'd really have to sit down and think about if I were to teach you as somebody who's never done a video like this before. So if you get what I'm saying here, the more experience you gain with something, the more unconsciously competent you become as an expert or somebody selling your expertise. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a dilemma, because you do need to be able to translate what you know into bite-sized teachable steps if you do want to package and sell your knowledge. So what you need to be doing is reverse engineering what you are good at, taking those skills, those experiences, whatever you are an expert in, and breaking it down to the basics so that other people can learn from you. And that can be tough, right? Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you are good at teaching it. And I've dealt with a lot of people, especially techie people. They fall victim to this a lot, where they can code something up and get a result for you. But if you ask them how they did it, they would be the worst person in the world to teach you how they achieved that result. Not a very good position to be in if you want to sell your knowledge and package up, your expertise into something that can make you money, whether it's, again, selling your time, selling products that you create, books you write, and so on. So what I want to do today is look at how to take some PLR content. So in this case, I'm going to be using an example of a product about taking action. And what I want to do is use that PLR to inspire. I've got a little thing there where I spin my head around. But what I'm going to do is look at this PLR product, and I'm going to look at it from my own unique perspective on the world, but I'm going to have the PLR itself drive me and help drive ideas out of my own brain, so that I can actually become conscious again of what it is I know about a particular topic. And again, I picked one today on my screen here. Taking action is a topic that I feel quite confident in teaching. I have a lot of different examples in my lifetime where being an action taker has benefited me and benefited my company. And so there's a lot I'd like to share, and there's opinions I have on this topic. And between those two things, if I start with a PLR product and I use it to kind of help me become conscious of what I already know about this topic, then the result can be some of my own unique content that I can then publish. Whether it's something I just want to, maybe put up on a blog post. It could be something that I turn into a product that I sell, or a course that I make available for download that eventually generates some revenue for my business. But the point here is that PLR can actually be a tool to help you extract the expertise that's already in your brain that you might just be having a hard time tapping into, just because you're so good at this thing and you've been doing it for so long that you actually forget what went into learning that as a beginner. So let's actually go into a live example here. Okay, so we've got a live screenshot of my desktop here. And what I'm going to be doing is I have this note. I'm using an app called Evernote. I strongly recommend you do this. It's great for content creation, capturing ideas on the fly and having it automatically saved to the cloud. Anyway, different story, different lesson. What I've got here is a note that I'm going to just start extracting some ideas here. And this is going to be totally free flow. I don't even know exactly what the end result is. I want to create some unique content, and I'm probably going to give myself a few different avenues to expand on this. So let me just like remind you here that we're going to be doing something on the whole concept of taking action, and I want to be able to extract some of my own ideas, expertise, knowledge, advice for other people who may want to learn about action taking skills from me. So what I could do, let me just start with some potential formats here. So I could create an ebook. I could create a video training, which is usually where I go because that's just what I like the best. I like creating video. I might do some audio. Audio. I may do some tip sheets, mind maps, and some blog posts / blog posts or articles. And that is probably enough for now. But these are just a few ideas that of things that pop into my mind. I could actually go deeper, right? I could actually create an entire course around taking action. In fact, if I were to think about sitting down with some other entrepreneurs who are just getting started, I could probably come up with a 1 or 2 day course that teaches them the habit of always being in action, because it's something I had to learn over and over and over again until I finally got it as an entrepreneur. So these are just some potential formats. And what I want to do is I'm going to kind of drive this whole creative session from the PLR product, right? My goal here is to use a PLR product to help me extract what I already know and what I would like to communicate to other people when it comes to taking action. But I also don't want to let the PLR totally influence what I'm going to publish here because I do have my own opinions. The PLR will help me remind myself of things that I'd like to talk about, but there's certainly things I'd like to teach as well. So let me do a couple things. So first, let me put the topic of action here in my note. This is, again, totally free form. I'm not sure how you like to do this stuff. What I want to quickly write down about action is a few basic ideas. Is something that, action before perfection is a lesson I like to talk about. In other words, sometimes you just got to try stuff. You can analyze if this idea is any good. If this, if it's let's say it's a business scenario, will this particular, sales idea or project generate revenue? I don't know, but I don't really have time to analyze it for all that long. I'm just going to try it out and see what happens. Sometimes you just have to throw stuff against the wall and see what works, especially if you are new to something. I always say just take a bunch of action so you get some feedback and then take the things that work and expand on those. So action before perfection, the subpoint there would be look for success indicators. In other words, as you take action, use those actions to get some feedback, to see what's working. That's kind of a big lesson. If I were to teach somebody about action taking, that's what I would talk about. I would also talk about fear will exist, yet you must act anyways. That is a whole talk point that I could probably build a few slides around and go on for 10 or 15 minutes about, but that's the key idea. I definitely know I want to talk about that if I were to build some kind of content here around the idea of action taking. So I'm just going to start with those two things in mind. If you were to ask me my opinions about taking action and why it's important, that's where I'd start. Now, let's go over to this PLR product. This is one of our what we call full products at Tools for Motivation. Full product basically means that we've got everything ready for you to create your own downloadable product that you could sell on your website. So we've got an ebook, there's 3D covers, there's training guides, and so on. I don't want to go into the full features of this. I just wanted to show you that this is an actual product from our store, and the main piece of content in this product is this ebook here. It's, I think, about 6,400 or 6,100 words. Ready, Fire, Aim is the name. There's a subtitle here. This is a breakdown of the table of contents. So it goes, there's an introduction, there's a lowdown of taking action where it gets into the benefits, plus some common pitfalls, some major talk points around taking action steps, how to overcoming fear, steps for taking massive action, taking action best practices, and there's a conclusion. Very high level overview here. Now what I would do, if I'm using PLR to help drive out some of my own expertise, I would start by going through this ebook. I may read it from top to bottom. If I'm being 100% truthful, I probably wouldn't, because I have enough of my own opinions on this topic that I would probably skim through the first pass at least and look at just the headings. So I would just start here in the first section here, the lowdown of taking action. Here are some benefits of taking action. I would definitely jot these down. So growing as an individual, I would grab that as a point and I would paste that over here into my Evernote. So I'm going to say this is the stuff I'm getting out of PLR. Awareness of opportunity develops. Grab that. Reaching your full potential. So you can see I'm just getting some. I'm getting some weird paste over errors when I copy it from a PDF. So I'll worry about that formatting later. Changing your mindset. Grab a few more here. Take responsibility for your life. It's a good one. Failure is better than never trying. Definitely something I could talk about. Creating momentum once you get started. That's a huge topic for me. I talk about momentum a lot when I do different personal development style trainings. That didn't even occur to me up here when I was first thinking about action. That would be a huge one for me. So this is you're already seeing here how PLR is helping me realize things I already know. I just didn't think of it in the moment when I was first brainstorming. Being happier, and I think I'm going to stop at this one, because I don't want to make this a full session. Come on now, let's paste that in there. It's not working. Anyway, be happier. Let's type it out. I don't want to make this an entire session of going through the whole ebook. What I wanted to show you was a high level of how a simple PLR ebook can help drive your expertise out of your brain and onto paper. So I would continue to scroll through here and see what all is being taught in this PLR product. There may be things I agree with. There also may be things I either disagree with or have maybe a slightly different way of teaching or explaining it. But again, I could use that as my baseline to get started. Just right now, if I were to take the content from the PLR here, plus the few bullet points that I started with, and organize it into this little section right here. I'll make that a bit bigger on my screen so you can see it. Here I have the beginnings of at least some initial thoughts of my own either product or piece of content about taking action. So I've got my couple of ideas that I mentioned before I looked at the PLR. I've got some things that I'd like to talk about here. I probably wouldn't go into each one of these, but there's definitely a couple in here that I like. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause my video. I'm going to translate this into a slide deck that I could then turn into a video training like I'm doing for you right now. With the camera being off, I'll be able to actually build it, and then I can come back and show you how I did it. All right, so I built something, and it's actually been a few hours. I did a number of other things in the meantime as well. So it's just cool how this stuff works. I'm just being honest with you that your content creation can happen in fits and spurts as well. And you can work your life around this stuff. So here is just a very basic slide deck that I put together. And it's the beginnings of what may be a mini course about taking action. It could be just a simple video lesson that I published to my blog. I don't really know yet, but I just wanted to show you the end product of having jotted some of my ideas down, pulled some ideas out of PLR to put together something here. So I'll call this presentation Always Be in Action, How to Become a Relentless Action Taker. Just, again, made that up. This is a slide I invented on my own. So this is a concept that this is purely out of my brain. So PLR did not help me here, but this is something I like to teach. And I thought this was important to share with you because I don't like people looking at PLR as the be all and end all to all of their content creation. It's important for you to have your own ideas, opinions, and if you're an expert and you're selling your knowledge, then you have to have opinions and ideas of your own to share. PLR can just be a tool to expand on it, like I'm doing in this video. So what this diagram basically tells people is that here you are today, you have some kind of set of results. Some you may be happy with, some you may not be so happy with, and then you can use it using your imagination and using goal setting. You can build a future you in your brain, and you can write that down and set a goal for that to be something you want to become one day. And this bridge or this ladder in the middle is action. The way you get from where you are today to your future self is by deciding you're going to do it and then taking all kinds of action. Some will be forward action, some will be backwards to help you learn. But over time, that relentless action taking becomes or helps you become that future you that you're deciding to create today. Okay, so that's my big personal teachable. And then I have 4 more slides here that I built using a combination of those ideas from my Evernote. So if you remember here, these are the points I extracted. And I could go a lot deeper than this, obviously. This is just a quick example for this video. So I came up with 4 sort of evolutionary points here. The first one is to be at cause. So the whole idea behind action taking is that instead of the world happening to you, you go out and make things happen in the world. And that's what action taking is all about. So a lot of the bullet points in here, life can happen to you, or you can take charge. A whole talk point about assuming 100% responsibility for your life. Another point about having control over your life. Everybody likes to feel like they're in control. These are points that I would probably, when I turn this slide deck into a video, I would probably in my mind come up with a few stories, maybe a few anecdotes, maybe some things from business, or maybe even things I've read in other books. And what's a simple slide here in 3 points could be 5 to 10 minutes of video-based content simply by me telling stories and illustrating these 3 points, all 3 of which came out from my very short brainstorming session of my ideas plus PLR put together. That's the first section. The second piece, in addition to being at cause, is to help. Action taking helps you reach your potential. And if you look at my points, once again, most of these come from my Evernote idea extraction. Happiness comes from growth and progress. When you do more, achieve more, you're discovering your own capabilities. And if you remember earlier, there was a whole point in that ebook, the PLR ebook, about momentum. I have all kinds of examples. I even have previous blog posts where I did like a deep dive in a video about the power of momentum. I could retell those stories and reteach that lesson inside of this piece of content. And as I go along here, I'm building a very rich, powerful video for whoever ends up watching this, for my audience. So that's the second piece. The third piece is becoming an action taker. So I went from the whole concept of being at cause, how action taking makes you reach your potential, to actually how to do it, right? So I'm doing the how-tos here. And this is where a lot of my personal ideas, when I first was brainstorming with Evernote, come into fruition here. So I would teach people about how it's better to take action and just get in the habit of doing that. I would talk about the idea of you want to remove your emotion from things. If you're new to something, you're probably gonna suck at the beginning and make a lot of mistakes. Learn quickly to separate yourself from that and simply get the feedback you need so you can get better. And another big teachable here, this did not come from PLR, but I remembered it because as I was reading through that PLR ebook, I saw a few things that reminded me of this lesson: developing a fear of inactivity. This was big for me when I started my business. I actually got to a point where if I wasn't taking a certain degree of action each and every day, I linked that in my brain to, I'm going to go out of business. I'm not going to make enough money and I'm going to have to go back and get a job. And that was ultimate fear for me. So I linked it so that I was going to take action, even if it was the wrong action. At least I did something that day. So I would teach about that. And it was pretty exciting for me to remember that bullet point, this lesson here. And it was brought back to my conscious awareness by going through this exercise, thanks to PLR. And then the final piece I would teach is roadblocks to avoid. So as you become an action taker, here are some things you have to remember. Now again, very simple example. I broke this into 4 teachable slides, but really each point on these slides are things that I could talk about, tell stories around, again, share anecdotes, things I was mentioning earlier. This could become a significantly powerful video that I break into multiple parts, turn into part of a course, you name it. Once I have it in video format, then I can do even more content repurposing to it. I could have it transcribed. I could take pieces of that and grab articles from the PLR and say, hey, to learn more about the power of momentum, go here, right? So you can see how this can really become a a larger process to help you extract information out of your brain and show people not only are you an expert, but you're good at teaching this stuff as well. So I really hope this gives you a starting point for this stuff. I would encourage you, whether it's this particular product about taking action or whatever, go and pull up that ebook. Like here's that ebook again, or maybe you pull up a few articles and just read through it. Write some of these, jot down some of these points. See what comes up for you. See if you can remember a scenario where, hey, like I used to be an excuse maker, and one day, this and this happened, and I realized that excuses were just holding you back. When I decided to ditch that behavior, here are all the great things that happen, and that can become a whole unique piece of content for you. But you use the PLR to help guide you there. So if you have any questions about this or where to get started, if you need any tips beyond this video, please do let us know. We have a contact page at toolsformotivation.com, or anywhere on this page where you're watching this video. I'm sure you can get a hold of us. Thanks very much for watching. This has been Justin Popovich. We'll talk to you soon.